You are now watching the True Mets Talk podcast live stream. We will be going live shortly. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Down the right field, stumbling start for Stewart. That's throws to deep left field by Alvarez, and that's going to go in 4 straight games for the second time in he's homered in 4.
All right, I am having extreme technical difficulties here, and I do apologize about that. Can everybody hear me? Anybody in the chat, can you all hear me? Please let me know. I see Daniel and Carlos in the chat. Can you all hear me? Take 2. Can you all hear me? Okay. Okay, I do apologize about that. All right, awesome. Listen, I apologize about that. This is take 2, as you all are saying in the chat. I do apologize about that. I am having some internet issues right now, and I thought that I was good for a second, but the bars went down to 1, and I had lost some people. But nonetheless, we are here, and we are talking Mets baseball. I want to shout out everybody. Like I said, I kind of went already on the spiel. I kind of feel sort of strange doing a take 2 here, but Mets, obviously, with a dreadful 3-7 homestand. I'm going to try to recollect my thoughts here as technology sometimes literally gets the best of us. As always, though, on this fresh stream, I'm gonna actually change up the description as soon as I get off with this. I'm kind of in a rush now because I do have to get to the game. Hit that thumbs up as always. I'll rework the hashtags, all that good stuff, and we'll just reset it from there. But like I said, I do want to have a discussion with you all about the New York Mets ahead of this crucial series. And as I left off, make sure you hit the live chat with your thoughts and comments. As I left off, on this slide right here, the inability to close out ball games due to multiple factors with this team, which is no fault of Carlos Mendoza's. The personnel of this team that he has to work with right now simply isn't in his favor. Edwin Diaz, 3 straight blown saves. Brooks Raley on the shelf for Tommy John surgery, which was actually successfully completed last week. And now we also have Edwin Diaz on the shelf as well, believe with some arm problems. I don't really know exactly what's going on with Edwin Diaz, but nonetheless, this bullpen is riddled with injuries. It's riddled with injuries. And like I said, guys, I am quite literally like doing this stream, and I don't know if anyone can hear me. I think you guys can hear me because I heard some yeses in the chat. But nonetheless, if at any point I cut out, please let me know in the chat, and then we'll just rework it that way. Maybe I'll try a different day. But I want to give this a last-ditch effort because I really do just want to talk about this team. So you have Edwin Diaz hurt, you have Brooks Raley hurt, and you have Jorge Lopez. And that whole situation, thank you, Stoney. I appreciate that. No need. Yes, you guys can hear me. Carlos is here. Okay, you guys can hear me. Okay, great. Jorge Lopez situation obviously didn't help the matters as well in the bullpen. But my thing is, if you all went to my channel and looked at some shorts that I dropped, particularly on this bullpen situation, particularly and especially on this closer by committee debacle that the Mets really do have to run right now, but I would like them to try something different. This is where the Mets are faltering right now. And like I said in this last stream, literally just went to StreamYard to set it up one more time. StreamYard has been very buggy as of recently. If you guys go to Talking Mets with Rob streams and you try to do the in-game live streams, you can't pull up something from an external website, and it's very buggy over there. But nonetheless, what I was going to say is that this closer by committee situation that the Mets are now running into is a problem. And I'm not saying that you have to throw out there and be committed to Reed Garrett as an everyday closer night in and night out, or the same thing with Adam Ottavino, or the same thing with maybe a Sean Reed Foley. But I would like to see more consistency from the Mets in terms of how they approach who gets the 9th inning role in the 9th inning duties. Now, in the chat, if you all can tell me if you agree with that, I would certainly appreciate that because I've been pondering this for quite some time, especially ever since Edwin Diaz went on the IL. I've just been kind of sitting here and thinking, what do the Mets do at closer? And I was thinking this even before. Edwin Diaz went on the IL. Thank you, Stoney, for agreeing with me. Because on one hand, you have to expect everybody out there that gets called into the game to do their job. This is the major league level. You can't make excuses. But on the other hand, some guys may not be comfortable in certain inning situations rather than others, and the pressure that comes with it. So I'm sitting here trying to think to myself, well, do we commit to Reed Garrett as a closer? Do we commit to a guy that's been really kind of brilliant here in a very short sample size and maybe like a Danny Young, which I know is very far-fetched to say because we still don't know what Danny Young is over the long haul of a course of 162, but you get what I'm trying to get at. I see Daniel Nunez here from Darren as an option. He's been absolutely lights out as well. There's some injury concerns with Daniel Nunez, but nonetheless, I would just like to see some consistency there now that we don't have Edwin Diaz for the next couple of weeks. And even when Edwin Diaz comes back into the fold, you put yourself in a situation where you're going to have to put Edwin Diaz back in that closer role when we know that his confidence is not quite there. Now, I know I'm going on a little rant here. And like I said, literally the only point of the stream here today is to go on these rants, to have a discussion with you all in the chat. And if you guys are literally just getting into the chat, this is take two. So I'm kind of struggling here with my thoughts because I had a little bit of a setup and a little bit of a structure of how I wanted to do this stream. But we'll get into the Mets versus Nationals talk here. It's a shame, but we'll get into it. So yeah, this is what I'm saying. I guess my point here is that this is the time when Edwin Diaz is no longer part of the equation here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long it takes him to recuperate from this injury. This is the time to give someone the opportunity to take the bulls by the horns and show that they have what it takes, not only in terms of the actual result with the physical gift of being a closer, but also the mental capacity and the confidence to be a closer at the major league level. Now, I'm not saying that Edwin Diaz is not going to be the closer when he's back. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that Reed Garrett has shown flashes of brilliance, but he's been in every single situation in the book. 7th inning, 8th inning, and now the 9th inning. Those inconsistencies are on par with the inconsistencies that this team has had. That's nothing more, nothing less, the point that I wanted to get into with this topic. And we saw it here with the perfect example. Jake Diekman in the last game of the Diamondbacks series. It was a must-win game for Jake Diekman and the New York Mets. And there's been a lot of discussions about what Carlos Mendoza should have or should not have done in that situation, where he decided that Jake Diekman was going to play closer at that given moment on that given day. A lot of people are saying, throw out Sean Reed-Foley, which honestly would have been the better option, but a lot more people are saying, why wasn't Drew Smith in the ballgame? Now, I'm not one, and I'm not going to be a proponent of this because Drew Smith, you all know my feelings on Drew Smith. He had a decent start to the season. He got hurt, but can we really trust fully in Drew Smith? Just like Adam Ottavino, I don't think we can trust in either one of those guys. I don't think so at all. So what do the Mets do here? What do they do? This is me more so trying to find answers than give them at this point because this Mets team has a lot of issues, and the closer is just the tip of the iceberg and number one. Sean Reed-Foley's an option. At this point, Danny Young might be an option. We don't know. So comment in the live chat what you all think about this closer by committee situation that the Mets are choosing to run out there. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? And who would you all have as a preference? We've already seen someone in the chat say Daniel Nunez. Sean Reed Foley is an option in my mind. And then you have Reed Garrett. Listen, I think Reed Garrett would benefit from a consistent closer role, probably first and foremost of anyone on this team. Because the Mets have been running him into the ground by virtue of the starters not being able to go 6 or 7 innings consistently. And with everything else going on, especially that Brooks Raley injury, and with how hot of a start Reed Garrett has had to this season, he has been that fall on guy or fallback guy for the New York Mets when the going gets tough. And is it fair? No, but at this point of the season, you need to win ball games. And Reed Garrett, we've seen his numbers over the course of the last week and a half. They really haven't been pretty. And Junior, absolutely. Ottavino is bad. 5.24 ERA, 1.25 whip. It's just not good. It's not good, man. And Adam Ottavino was a guy that personally in the offseason, I didn't even want to come back to the Mets. I was willing to let bygones be bygones with that 2023 season and looked for another pen arm. But he wanted to be a New York Met. We all know the debacle of the contract situation that he backed out of, and then he re-signed. Regardless of your feelings towards that, when you look at the differences in his 2022 versus 2023 numbers, that in a nutshell was enough for me, coupled with his age, to be like, listen, I'm good on Adam Ottavino. But nonetheless, here we are talking about Mr. Adam Ottavino and a bullpen that really has been a problem for the last couple of weeks. What was a strong suit of the Mets now is a weakness. And we all know with the Mets seasons prior, you're not a playoff contending team with a bullpen that has an output like this. Now, I'm not saying it's too late for the Mets bullpen to turn it back around and continue to be a strong suit. Maybe the addition and the reinforcement of Drew Smith helps that out. All I'm saying is right now, as we head into this national series, all eyes for me are on Carlos Mendoza, who you saw in this graphic. All eyes are on Carlos Mendoza and who is going to be first up out of that pen if the Mets offense puts this bullpen in a situation to close out a ball game. Like today, let's say, for example, today on June 3rd, after Jake Diekman just blew a save, after Adam Ottavino just blew a save before him, and after Reed Garrett just made things interesting in a 10-9 win in that Diamondback series, who is Carlos Mendoza in a fresh series going to throw out there as the closer today? That is what I want to. That's what I'm watching out for. Quite simple. That's what I'm watching out for. But we do have a game to talk about today. Let me get into some comments before we talk about today's matchup and this series in general. This bullpen has been an issue for how many years now, Brad? Absolutely. You are absolutely right. And Junior, you know what? It might be too late. They have been definitely overused. There's ways to mask this, but I generally do agree with you. And it's a shame. It's a shame because honestly, the tune that I was singing in the offseason and going into this season was that this bullpen that Stearns built was built to outlast tough times. But you know what you can't account for is injuries. You can't account for injuries. You can't account for a situation like Jorge Lopez, which I have my own thoughts and feelings towards as well. You all heard it on the roundtable last night. I wasn't a fan of the Mets DFAing Jorge Lopez, but it is what it is. And like I said, bygones are bygones. He's not here anymore. They put themselves into a further hole in that situation. Now, this rotation is actually going to be quite interesting because you have David Peterson obviously here on your screen going in game 2 tomorrow. You have Christian Scott sent down to the minor leagues. He'll be back up presumably after the London series. So how are they going to manipulate the starting rotation in order to get some of those guys maybe into the bullpen? Like we've already seen it with Adrian Hauser, for better or for worse. Will we see it with a David Peterson in lieu of the Brooks Raley injury and losing him for the rest of the season? I don't know. But there's a couple of ways that they can band-aid this problem. But that's really all it is, Junior, and I agree with you. It's just a Band-Aid. Oliver saying bring back Buto or Scott for the pen, which is interesting because Hector from Washington Heights last night in the roundtable was talking about maybe Christian Scott coming out of the pen, which I think is very far-fetched and I don't think is on the table. But it's interesting now that I've heard that actually twice in the last 2 days. Buto is probably more on the table for that role than Christian Scott. I don't think that they're going to put Christian Scott in the bullpen. But anyways, like I said, we are midstream. Had some technical difficulties up top. I appreciate you all being here. It's not even 5 p.m. on a Monday, heading into the evening. It's a Monday afternoon, 4:42 p.m. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay. And comment your thoughts and opinions in the live chat. We're here to have a discussion, quite plain and simple. And we're going to keep having these discussions because my New York Knicks are out of it. The Rangers, in heartbreaking fashion, are out of it. And we're going to be talking about this New York Mets team for the rest of the summer. So we might as well just have these honest discussions now. Daniel's saying, we need a right-handed pitcher, or we need a relief pitcher, that can give us multiple innings. And I agree. And you know what the ironic part about this is? And I'm not saying that I regret any way that this played out, but it just makes you chuckle because things come full circle when you're a Mets fan and when you're part of this organization, is look at the guy that the Washington Nationals have starting game 2. And he would have never came back to the Mets because the Mets were adamant about him being a long reliever instead of a starting pitcher, which was what he wanted to be as a starting pitcher, which is why he left. But it's Trevor Williams, 5-0 for the Nationals this season, 2.22 ERA. Just makes you look back and be like, damn. That was one hell of a run by Trevor Williams in that year. Oof. Just catching up on some of the comments here. Appreciate you all being here. Stoney, I appreciate you. Carlos Ramos, appreciate you. Oliver, appreciate you. Yamit, I appreciate you. The clutchness of this team is something that you have to call out as well, whether it's pitching or hitting. Yamit, you're absolutely right. Junior, as it pertains to that previous conversation, you're right. Danny Young has looked pretty damn good in the short sample size here ever since coming onto this team. Should he get higher leverage situations, and more so than a guy like Jake Diekman? That is the ultimate question that I want to pose. That's the ultimate question that I want to pose. So, you see the wild card standings? I know everyone hates the wild card standings watching in early June, but I'm going to toss it up here anyways because it has to be a focal point, and it is the basis of conversation surrounding what this team will do come that trade deadline. Atlanta Braves, firm grasp at the top there, +5 games. And the New York Mets, with 6 teams in between them and the Cardinals, are 5 games back of a wild card spot. That's it. Carlos Ramos, please feel free to give your opinions, man. This is a safe space for everybody in the chat, all Mets fans in the chat. Even if you're not a Mets fan, give your opinions on this team. I want to hear it. This is why we're up here in the first place. So you see, 3-game set here starting today. McGill, who's pitched absolutely phenomenally in the last 2 starts ever coming off the IL, is going against Mackenzie Gore. And I'm not going to lie to you all, the lineup that the Mets have going today, historically against Mackenzie Gore, has not been pretty. Maybe with the exception of Starling Marte, career 2 for 5 off Mackenzie Gore, and Brandon Nimmo, career 2 for 8 against Mackenzie Gore. So I want to see how this lineup attacks Mackenzie Gore. Obviously, notoriously struggling against lefties. This Nationals team is very scrappy, you all. I'm not going to lie to you all. I don't know how much Nationals baseball you've watched, but they are a scrappy bunch. And we talked about it yesterday. They underwent a rebuild, offloading some of their major guys, and they are in a position now where they are not quite there in terms of being absolutely dangerous in the NL East, but they're knocking on the doorsteps with a solid young core foundation, most notably for me, CJ Abrams down right there by Francisco Lindor. So, but these are your pitching matchups on the left. You got David Peterson versus aforementioned Trevor Williams in Game 2. Game 3, Luis Severino versus Patrick Corbin. What are you all's expectations on this series? I'm curious. Is this a series win? Is this a sweep? Do the Mets get swept? What do you all think? I'm very curious. As crazy as it sounds, I'm kind of confident in this series with the way that Severino has been pitching. And I know nobody wants to hear it because the Mets really have been playing garbage baseball. I'm going to call a spade there. They have been. But I'm kind of confident that the Mets can pull out a series win here with the way Tyler McGill and Luis Severino have been pitching. The jury's still out on David Peterson, and obviously Mackenzie Gore and Trevor Williams are a tough task on the opposition in the first 2 games. But I'm kind of confident. We'll see if I'm still ringing that same tune after this 3-game set. We'll see. Josh is saying the Nats have been on fire. They've been playing some good baseball. They are scrappy, like I said. Lindor 0 for 8. Alonso 1 for 7. This is, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Daniel. I was going to put a graphic up here about this Mets lineup today versus Mackenzie Gore lifetime, but ESPN has it up. I encourage you all to go there and check that out. It's not pretty, man. It's not pretty. But what's interesting to me about this lineup today is Jose Iglesias gets the start. And instead of Jeff McNeil. And for me, when Jose Iglesias, I've been wanting to see Jose Iglesias up for weeks now. Ever since we figured out that these Jeff McNeil struggles are going to be consistent. This move, for me, was like a subtle warning to Jeff McNeil by the front office. You keep on not performing, here's your replacement. And there you go, Jose Iglesias. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be consistent, but Jose Iglesias is getting the start today over Jeff McNeil. So everybody should keep their eyes on that moving forward in this 2024 season. Listen, there's a lot of things that everybody in this chat should keep an eye out in terms of this team. One thing that I'm going to continuously watch now as a Mets fan is the energy and is the dugout. I want to see the cohesiveness or lack thereof of this team. I want to see it. And I know that a lot of people across Mets Twitter, Mets YouTube, anything related to the Mets have been questioning. A lot of people have been questioning the cohesiveness, the leadership of this team in general, but also multiple guys specifically. Alonso being one of them. Lindor, who just called the players-only meeting and then went 4 for 4. Jeff McNeil and how he fits into this team and the clubhouse. Now, that's not for me to speak on because I'm not a player and I'm not in those situations and I don't know those conversations. And not even a lot of these reporters out there know that because they're not present for it. But what we see in the dugout and on field, it makes you wonder. And that's all I'm going to say about that topic. That's all I'm going to say. So like I said, short little stream. Apologies about the technical difficulties at the top of the stream. That's really all I had for us today. Just wanted to get a little bit of a vibe check. It's been tough. It's been really tough. And us as Mets fans, we've gone through worse. Let's not act like we haven't gone through worse because we have. And it can always get worse. But why not turn the ship around starting today? There's my little, I guess, false optimism for you all that I'm going to leave you with. Why not turn this ship around today? Why not? JD Martinez said it. He came out and said it. What do we have to lose? They already think that we stink. There's nothing else left to lose. And regardless of whether you think it's too late for the Mets or not, I have my personal opinions about that. This team, these players, when they go out there, they simply can't think that way. And I would hope they're not thinking that way. So like I said, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you all for tuning into this stream. Whether you're catching the replay or whether you're here live, I appreciate all of the support. Carlos Ortiz, we're having bad days, dude. First, my technical difficulties on the first stream that I had going up here. And then you getting locked out of your house waiting on your wife. It's been a bad and a rough start to the Monday. But things happen. Things happen. I appreciate y'all being here. As always, you know where to catch me. Find me on all social media handles at CPNYSports. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff. Appreciate you all being here in the live chat. If you're on the replay, comment your thoughts and opinions about anything and everything related to this team. Anything you've heard about on this channel. Anything. I really, really want to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to run through these comments one more time to just show my gratitude and appreciation to you all who subscribe to this channel, who come into these live streams and talk about this team with me every single day, every single week, whether it's on the True Mets Talk podcast, whether it's on the Mets roundtables, the Amazing Mets pregames, everything. I appreciate you all. And if I miss you, there's a lot of comments here, so please don't take offense. Carlos Ramos, Brad, Daniel, Robert, Oliver, Darren, Carlos Ortiz, Stoney, Mr. Nobody, Steven, Josh, Yamid. This is what the Mets have me doing. They have me reading every single comment in here. Not that I don't do that always, but this is how I feel because I appreciate you all. We're going to be here for the rest of the summer. Junior, Daniel, I appreciate you all. Thank you all for being here. Hit that thumbs up. Let's go Mets. We'll be back at it with a Mets day after recap. It's probably going to be a pre-recorded stream as opposed to a live stream. But it's probably going to be pre-recorded podcast up on the channel tomorrow, giving my thoughts and opinions here about this game one at 6:45 p.m. Game 1 fresh series starting off against the Washington Nationals. I appreciate you all. Let's go Mets as always. I'll see you all in a bit.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.